And welcome back to our special virtual Democratic Forum with the candidates for U.S. Senate. The next round of questions will be directed to a specific candidate, and they will have 60 seconds to respond. Ron?
Stacey, thank you very much. And I'm going to say at the outset this time, my question goes directly to Michael Franken. And Admiral Franken, you moved back to Iowa about 3 years ago, as I understand it, back in 2017, after living outside of Iowa, the state of Iowa, for most of your entire naval career. So I think Iowans would be interested in knowing, how have you been able to stay connected to Iowans and the key issues going on here in this state? And why should Iowans give you a chance to represent them when you were really gone for so long?
Oh, well, perfect. Well, so the formative years of my life, 0 through 23, I was rural Sioux County, Iowa. Those really are the years that make the difference. The key is I came home. The spot where born, raised, fourth generation, where my sisters still live, where my parents are buried, ultimately where we'll all be buried. So, I mean, it's home. So, I mean, there wasn't really an issue. And, you know, worldwide, wherever I was, in every job I had, even when I had as small as the first job, 43 people, I had Iowans in that group, and South Dakotans and Missourians and Minnesotans, and the whole crowd, okay? And we're not that different than our neighbors. And ultimately, when I had 4,000 or more people, I had lots of Iowans. And one thing I always do, and my wife used to say, oh, guess what we're going to do? We're going to go back home on our vacation, because it was home. So I haven't really changed anything. And Iowa values is what good governance is, and it's why I'm in this job.
Thank you very much.
The next question goes directly to Mr. Morrow. Mr. Morrow, your name is a familiar one in Iowa politics over the last few years. You've run in primaries in 2016 and in 2018. You lost both those primaries. Why would you put yourself in another primary in a race that you once told the Des Moines Register you didn't originally plan to compete in?
Well, first of all, I want to talk about, if we're going to take care of rural Iowa, we want to make sure that we have the candidate that is actually from Iowa. And you can't do that if your primary residence is $1 million house in Virginia. That's an issue for Iowans, and they should take note of that. Relative to your question, you know, there's been a lot of politicians that have gone on after running in a race and learned from those values and those lessons and gone on to do great things. Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, many others. They've gone on to become mayors and Congress people and senators and presidents. What I've learned in those races has made me a better candidate, a better United States senator. And that'll catapult me into doing something remarkable for the people here in Iowa. I'll tell you, I haven't been afraid of a challenge. They've both been challenged, and this is challenging as well. And we want to have the right kind of person that's not afraid of the challenges. We're going to need the right kind of challenger to go against Joni Ernst. And we have a poll that indicates we're already tied with her before we even get started into the next phase. And that's what we're going to need. Somebody can beat Joni Ernst in November, and that's me.
My next question is ready for Ms. Graham. So let me ask you, Ms. Graham, 33 Iowa counties that went for Barack Obama in 2012 switched over to Donald Trump in 2016. So how would you, as a progressive, be able to win over Donald Trump voters in this November election?
Yes, well, I would say several things about that. I'll try to get them all in this minute. The first thing I would say is Senator Tom Harkin. So this idea that Iowans don't go for progressive candidates, of course, is ridiculous. We had a fantastic progressive U.S. Senator in Tom Harkin for 30 years and 10 years in Congress before that. How you win in rural Iowa is you go there over and over and over again, and you listen to people. As a mediator for the last 17 years, I have not only trained myself, but have so much experience in actively listening to people. If you're not listening to people, you don't know what they need to lead lives of health and dignity because you never bothered to listen to them. So, you know, if as he self-described himself, a skinny kid with big ears and a funny name can win Iowa 2 times, right? Then I think that, and by the way, P.S., he campaigned on universal health care when he was running in 2007. Sometimes people forget that, and he won. So I think the proof's in the pudding. A progressive Democrat absolutely can, and perhaps is the only person who can win in rural Iowa.
Ms. Graham, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Greenfield, The super PAC, known as Senate Majority PAC, spent $164 million trying to influence the 2018 election and has already started airing ads in support of you. How do you view support like that coming to our state from non-Iowans who are trying to influence our Senate election?
Well, thank you, Stacy. I'll tell you, I can't control the spending of outside groups, but I tell you what I can do. I've taken a pledge not to accept $1 of corporate PAC donations, and I put out a plan to end political corruption because I believe we're not going to get to the bottom of any of the things we're talking about today if we don't end political corruption. And my plan starts with ending Citizens United, ending corporate PAC donations, banning dark money groups. Oh, and if we can't do that, make sure that they have to disclose who their donors are. And we need to go further than that. We need to stop the revolving door so that when you are done serving in the United States Senate or the House of Representatives, you don't go to a cushy job on K Street. You know, I am thrilled with the grassroots support I've built in this race. On the day I announced, right the very first couple days, I had over 19 leaders from across the state who endorsed my campaign, and we've been going strong every day. And that's how you're going to beat Senator Ernst, building a strong grassroots team here in Iowa.
Ms. Greenfield, thank you. Mr. Morrow, campaigns are very expensive to run. How should candidates be funding their campaigns?
Well, thanks for asking. And I got to take exception to the answer we got from Ms. Greenfield, because she said she can't control what outside groups are doing. But the leadership is that you stand up and speak out and you say that we don't want to have that influence. I haven't heard her say that in any way. I haven't heard her say that when people send me money from the fossil fuel industry that I'm going to send that back because I'm not accepting it. I haven't heard her say that leadership PAC money that's coming her way, that she's saying, I don't want to take that, please take that back. That's what real leadership would be. And in order for us to take care of all these issues, we need to be talking about climate change and healthcare, education, and serving and taking care of this COVID pandemic. We need to talk about money in politics because it's corrupting everything. And it's not just a Republican thing. Joni Ernst is corrupted. She can't come to bat on any issues that are important to Iowans, but I worry about our own party as well. When the leadership committee is handing out money to a specific candidate, is that candidate going to stand for Iowans first or stand for the leadership? And that's what we have right now. We don't need more of the same. We deserve better. If we're going to have a better tomorrow for Iowans and Americans, we need to make sure we're pushing back against that money that's coming into our coffers. How do you finance that? You need to go out and ask people and build grassroots support to make that happen.
Thank you, Mr. Morrow. Ms. Greenfield, would you like to respond?
Yeah, I'd like to be clear that I've taken a pledge not to accept one dime of corporate PAC donations, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm really proud to be endorsed by End Citizens United, and have been working hard to build that strong coalition, the strongest grassroots support to defeat Senator Ernst. We've had over 15,000 contributions from Iowans in all 99 counties. Over 24 labor unions have endorsed us, representing 70,000 Iowans, along with the AFL-CIO, who represent 50,000 Iowans. I'm going to continue to build that strong team to defeat Senator Ernst in November.
Ms. Greenfield, thank you. Ms. Graham, how should candidates be funding their campaigns? Are there things they should do, things they shouldn't do, things they have to do?
Well, I absolutely support a constitutional amendment to end Citizens United, but that's really a very tiny tip of the iceberg. Ultimately, we have to work toward publicly funded elections like a lot of other developed nations have, so that we don't have any large corporate money influence. We don't have any dark money. We don't have any PAC money. We have elections that are far less expensive and that are far more democratic. Because the fact of the matter is that the more money you have, the more influence you can buy right now. And that is not the way that should work at all. One of the ways that we could do potentially publicly funded elections was actually something that I believe Andrew Yang spoke about in his campaign, which I think a lot of people are taking a look at, and he called it democracy dollars. But basically, it's just a way of putting actual dollars into the hands of every American citizen that they can then decide who they want to donate that money to, so that every single American has the same dollar influence as far as who they can donate money to. Thanks.
Ms. Graham, thank you. Now, Ms. Greenfield, it's your turn to answer the question. You did a rebuttal earlier in this round, but how should candidates be funding their campaigns?
Well, I know that for me to decide to get in this race was an incredibly serious decision, and I have the ultimate respect for everybody who gets their name on the ballot. I don't care if you're running for dog catcher, city council, something in the courthouse, the state house, or the presidency. We need people to be in our elections. And the best way to do it is build a strong grassroots team. Go out there and ask people to support your campaign. And I'm incredibly proud that we've had over 15,000 contributions from Iowans. Folks at all 99 counties have stepped up to help finance this campaign, to chip in $1 or more. And we're going to keep asking people, because candidates, we can't win these elections alone. I certainly can't. I can't finance it alone. And I'll tell you, we got to end political corruption. I want to end Citizens United. I want to get corporate PAC money out of our elections and dark money groups. Listen, Senator Joni Ernst, she recently got caught illegally coordinating with a dark money group to fund her campaign. We have to end all of that.
All right, Ms. Greenfield, thank you. Mr. Franken, how should candidates be funding their campaigns?
Well, it's more than just corporate PAC. It's some of the advocacy groups which send $50,000 to various campaigns. They generally owe you. And I think Joni Ernst is an exemplar of someone who's owned by special interest. I'm a fan of public financing of campaigns. And I'll go this far. If we don't publicly finance campaigns, we better think about term limits, because we have a problem in this country. Politics, the third leg of my campaign is to take the special interest greed out of politics and out of the bills that we write. And if we don't do something significant, we are going to progressively be passing bills which service a small slice of society at the cost of the greater good. We're seeing this today. The only thing the Republicans have been successful in flattening out is what the uber wealthy pay for taxes. Now it's less than what you and I pay.
Thank you, Mr. Franken.
My next question, I want to expand on this just a little bit, because money is one thing, and Ms. Graham, this goes to you first. I'm sorry, Ms. Graham, you'll answer this question, but money is one thing. So if you're the nominee, how do you create, though, a winning strategy for your campaign? I mean, what's your strategy for beating Senator Ernst, who has already said that this election really in Iowa is about Iowans choosing between freedom and liberty on one side and socialistic ideals being proposed by what they call the New Democratic Party on the other? So what is your winning strategy?
Well, the winning strategy is similar to the one that has already created a situation where our campaign came out on top among all of the candidates in a Des Moines Register Mediacom poll back in early March. And that strategy was putting 40,000 or so miles on my car. It goes back to going everywhere and listening to everyone. There are no shortcuts. You have to put in the work. And even though we are not the best funded campaign of all the campaigns, we came out on top in that poll. So I believe that that means that Iowans are wanting progressive policies and progressive values, and that when we talk about those values in ways that are easy to understand and easy to appreciate, people are on board with them. You know, we talk about this dichotomy, it's either freedom or socialism. That's not at all I reject that notion. How free are we if we cannot get healthcare because we cannot afford it? How free are we if we can't start a new business because we can't afford the high cost of health insurance? We're not. So these progressive policies result in more freedom, not less. Thanks.
Ms. Graham, thank you very much. Ms. Greenfield, your chance to give us your winning strategy.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, you know, Iowans are independent thinkers and they're independent voters. We've seen that. They voted for Barack Obama twice. They voted for Donald Trump. And last fall, in 2018, we elected our first two women to Congress, Cindy Axne and Abby Finkenauer. They're independent voters and independent thinkers. And as I've traveled this state and done over 100 campaign events, I'll tell you, one of the things they want is they want the divisiveness to end. They want candidates and elected officials to work together like we do in our small towns to solve problems that are urgently in front of us, but also to build that brighter future. They want us to focus on the issues that they care the most about. Look, here's one. Iowa is 50th in the nation in bridge suitability. Now those broken bridges, they're not Republican bridges and they're not Democratic bridges. They're bridges that need to be fixed. I spent about 14 years working in community planning with neighborhood groups, planning commissions, city councils. And I know that we can come together to solve these problems because Iowans, they want someone who's going to put them first.
Thank you very much. Michael Franken, you're next.
Make no mistake about it. I don't think Joni Ernst knows the difference between socialism or humanism. So let's just set that aside. The short of it is there's one major newspaper in this state, and it endorsed me, principally because I go to leadership job number one, day number one. And I've got the vast expanse of legislative experience, 2 times what Joni Ernst does on Capitol Hill, with successive jobs in the Department of Defense, including being the head of the Department of Legislative Affairs for Obama's White House. All right, so we were last to enter this race. Yet we were the first to enter our petitions for nominating, and we had 5 times the number, and we had more from rural Iowa than ever before. You're not going to win in Iowa unless you do better in rural Iowa. And there's a problem with the Democrats that we've surrendered rural Iowa. That's why I live in Sioux City, and Polk County Democrats have been bad, frankly, in statewide elections. I'm at special needs and adoption, vet, and all those things which affect what? 40% of the population in Iowa. So people know about me and they'll vote for me. That's how I win.
All right, thank you very much. Eddie Morrow, how do you defeat a sitting United States Senator?
So we defeat a sitting United States Senator by making sure you build a coalition that can reach into every county in the state. And that's something I've done. So I didn't just grow up in rural communities. I still reach them today. My business touches all 99 Iowa counties, most communities in this state. We win this race because we build coalitions, not just in urban and suburban centers, but in rural centers where I taught in Seymour, Iowa, and Indianola and Boone, and being able to reach into rural schools and rural teachers. We win this race because we can go out and talk about faith in communities where Democrats have fallen behind. We go talk to Catholics and Lutherans and evangelicals about how our faith values are the true democratic values and how we treat each other, how we help ourselves persevere through crises like the COVID pandemic that we're a part of. We win this race because we've already demonstrated that the polling indicates we're already tied with the Joni Ernst, 43-43, which shows we already have a winning strategy. So we're working on a primary field, and we feel really good about that, but we've already been looking ahead about what we're going to do in the general election. And that general election is to go out and hold her to account and stand up for what we believe in. Thank you.
Candidates, thank you very much for asking my question. Let's move on.
So immigration has been a hot button issue in this country for a long time. It seems that there has not been a solution, if one's needed, to the issue. So my question is, Mr. Franken, we'll start with you. Is illegal immigration a problem in Iowa? If not, why? If it is, what should Congress do about it?
Well, the problem with undocumented individuals in Iowa is perhaps they're a lower rung of society in many cases, and especially in a situation like this pandemic, they are the last to receive help. And oftentimes, let's face it, in the agricultural community, there are essential workers. So we need to take a look at immigration in a very comprehensive way. And I've got long history here, from the Mariel boat lift to the Haitian migration to Northern Africa to Niger, Africa, throughout the world. I know the implications of immigration that's uncontrolled. So we need to do a broader plan, increase the number of immigration officers in source countries, have more visas for skilled and agricultural workers, have a path to citizenship, and certainly do this with the DACA, the Dreamers, et cetera. I mean, we need to do a much better job, and Iowa's a net beneficiary of it.
Mr. Franken, thank you. Mr. Morrow, is illegal immigration a problem in Iowa?
No, it's not. And sadly, our immigration asylum policy is just failing overall in this country, mostly because of hate and fear and dishonesty led by Donald Trump and piggybacked on by Joni Ernst and others. We need to make sure we support a path to citizenship. It's one of the first things that I did in community organizing was to work with immigrants, undocumented and recent immigrants. I remember vividly at the state capitol in 2002 or 2003, standing at the top of the ladder, 700 undocumented and legal immigrants and supporters talking about the DREAM Act, talking about how we provide driver's licenses for immigrants because of all the value that immigration brings to our communities. It's made our state stronger. And to say anything different would be a dishonesty and untruth. But the other side is going to use this to stoke fear. They're going to stoke anxiety. They're going to try to trick and con you about this. So I support a path to citizenship. We need to make sure we have a complete overhaul of our immigration asylum system. We need to make sure that we reconstitute ICE. And our real goal should be at the border is to make sure that we're fighting extremism and human trafficking, not trying to keep out a worker that's going to work in our meatpacking plant, a worker that's going to work and pick out produce on our farms.
Mr. Morrow, thank you. Ms. Graham, what is your plan for immigration?
Well, Iowa needs immigrants. Our country needs immigrants. And I hope that one small good thing that may come of COVID-19 is that we realize how critically important immigrants are to this nation. They're our neighbors, they're our friends, and they are our essential workers in so many cases. We've got to fix our broken immigration system. Maybe my mediation skills are going to come in handy yet again to get that done. We've got to make the DACA recipients citizens immediately. This past September, I volunteered as an attorney with a volunteer lawyer organization, and I went down to the southern border and I saw what was going on there myself. I spent 5 days down there. I was at the Port Isabel Detention Center working with an 18-year-old man seeking asylum from Honduras who was trying to seek asylum. And we are violating our own due process laws there. We are violating international asylum law. You're supposed to keep the person seeking asylum in a place of safety awaiting their immigration hearing. We're not even doing that. So we have a lot to repair with our immigration system. Thanks.
Ms. Graham, thank you. Ms. Greenfield, do you agree that the immigration system is broken? And if so, how does Congress fix it?
Thank you, Stacy. Our immigration system is broken, and I'll tell you, immigrants have been an important part of Iowa's growth, Iowa's economy, Iowa's communities. But we have to take a look at how we're going to modernize that immigration system. It needs to be more humane. It needs to be more welcoming. Of course, we have to protect our borders and make sure that we're focused on safety and security for all of us. I'll tell you, Governor Bob Ray showed us the way on how to welcome immigrants. And he has set that stage for Iowans when he welcomes refugees so many years ago. You know, there's a group called the Iowa Immigration Compact on Immigration. It's a bipartisan group here in Iowa that's advancing this conversation, that wants to focus on how we improve our immigration policies to grow our economy, to grow our communities, to keep families together, and of course, to provide safety for all of us.
Okay, candidates, we are now going to move on to closing statements. The candidates will receive 60 seconds to make their final pitch to the voters. We begin with Ms. Greenfield.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to be here today to make the case why I am the strongest candidate to defeat Senator Joni Ernst. And I am running to do a job, and that job is to put Iowa first. You know, I believe we can take action on healthcare, urgent climate action, get our markets back, and repair our damaged economy. We can do that together. And I also believe we can win this race. We know that Senator Ernst is the third most unpopular senator in the country. We can win. And you do that by building the strongest grassroots team possible. And I'm proud of my grassroots team. I just want to leave you with this one story. You know, after my husband died and I got back on my feet, I got my very first job, and it was for $8 an hour. I couldn't have been prouder because I also got my dignity back. And people in America and Iowa, they want the dignity of providing for their families. And I'm in this race to fight for hardworking families. So here's my promise. I'll never forget who I am, where I'm from, and who I'm fighting for. I can't win this thing alone, though, and I'd love to have you all vote for me on June 2nd. You can go to greenfieldforiowa.com/vote by mail and learn more about how to vote safely by mail. And again, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today.
Ms. Greenfield, thank you. Ms. Graham, go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to more Iowa voters today to get our message out to more people. I'm in this race for a lot of reasons. I'm here for the kids I've represented for the last 20 years. I've been standing up and fighting for Iowans for the last 20 years, and I intend to continue to stand up and fight for Iowans in the United States Senate. Look, I started my career at Iowa Legal Aid as an intern. That's where Senator Tom Harkin started his career as well. both of us had in common that we wanted a life of public service, and I've already been doing that. I think it's important that we look at the candidates and whether or not their life has already been one of public service. It's also important to look at how the candidates campaigned. We made it to all 99 counties. The last 15, we had to do Zoom meetings, but we made it to almost all of them. You must go everywhere and listen to everyone as an Iowan, as a Democrat. That is how Democrats win Iowa. There is no shortcuts. You've got to put people over profits as well. And when you do that, there will be plenty of profits, and we will have a better nation and lift people out of poverty. I'm running to be the best senator money can't buy, and I would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Ms. Graham, thank you. Mr. Franken, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, so this will be a very difficult decade, and Iowa needs visionary leadership. The fact is, I'm the only candidate here with legislative experience, no training wheels, job one. And also the only one with national service, interagency, international experience. And I'm also the only one that led thousands, interacted with Congress daily, and knows Washington. I'm the only one with technical competence for a technical world, and the only candidate born and raised in rural Iowa. And I'm not funded by outsiders or by those who are the problem. I'm here to beat Joni Ernst by experience, wits, leadership, and verve. I'm the candidate the Republicans fear. I'm Mitch McConnell's biggest nightmare, indefatigable and right. I'm here for Iowa. Look forward to your support, frankenforiowa.org, and support your local newspapers as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Franken. Mr. Morrow, go ahead.
Thank you, everybody, for having us today. At this moment, requiring the strongest of leaders, we're burdened with the weakest leader in the history of our country. And we need leadership that is experienced in dealing with the real public health and financial hardships facing Iowans. Leadership that spent time on the streets right here in Iowa. And that's me, a teacher, a progressive business owner, and a community organizer. You know, another community organizer, Barack Obama, once said that the best education he received was working with people in the community. He learned that ordinary people working together can do extraordinary things. And that's what we can do together, extraordinary things. We can stop the privatization of Social Security. We can provide health care to every American. We can reform our campaign finance laws and tackle the climate crisis. We can deliver the courage, compassion, and basic civility that will help our country heal and become stronger. I'm Eddie Morrow. With your vote, we can usher in a new era in politics, a new frontier, and make tomorrow better than today for everybody. Learn more at eddiemorrow.com. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Mr. Morrow. And thank you, candidates, for joining us today for this conversation. We've really learned a lot, and we've enjoyed getting to talk with you in this forum, though we wish it were in person.
Yeah, that's really the case. We really appreciate, we know it's a grueling campaign, even though you can't, as you would want to be face-to-face as you might be in the caucuses, having a chance to do that personal face-to-face conversation with Iowans. But we do appreciate you taking the time. It's a tough campaign. We wish you the best of luck.
And I'll echo the sentiments of my colleagues. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to inform the electorate. And voters, it is now up to you to make a decision.
Thank you for watching our KCCI 8 News Commitment 2020 special broadcast. Online right now on kcci.com is an extra question and answer segment that we had to cut from our broadcast for time. A reminder, the primary is June 2nd. Absentee ballots must be postmarked by Monday, June 1st. Check with your local county auditor about polling locations.